question that I think you're in a unique position to answer, having been in the real estate service provider world for over 25 years, basically. I left in 2020, which was, of course, the moment of change in where workplace was. You could see that workplace was growing in importance in the few years before that. But before that, it was really just, well, we know that our clients are growing. We need to go from 10,000 feet to 12,000 feet. We have a group that does that. They lay out the space. That was about it. That was a very narrow role. Today, that's been turned upside down. And I'm just curious from your perspective, what has happened within corporate service organizations with respect to the positioning of workplace versus transactions or other services, which historically were always in the lead. Brokers always were the primary relationship with clients, always. I don't know if that's changed or not. Can you give us a sense of how that evolution has evolved or how that's happened within your firm or other firms like yours?
Well, and I'll say, just to frame it up again too. So I've worked at JLL, I worked at Johnson Controls back in the day. When I joined Cushman, I joined in April 2021. So kind of at this strange point. And I was hired by a wonderful broker who saw the value of workplace experience, workplace strategy to help their clients find, let's say, figure out what to do with transactions, right? In ways of, we know that it's important and we as the brokers value that. And we want to make sure that the client relationships that they're building, that they're able to say, we don't want to just build a space and say, okay, here's the square footage. We want you to understand why it's working. We want to understand how it might change in the future. Like an investment in a lease or making a big change, it's a big commitment, right? It impacts your culture. It impacts, it's an investment. So they want to make sure that they do it right. And you might need to be flexible. Like, what if you need to expand or contract? How do they think about that as brokers to make sure that they're putting flexibility in to serve the client? So that's kind of how I came into corporate real estate, from working at corporate real estate, larger companies in a more account level. Does that make sense?
Yes, sure.
So what I see now that's changing is clients are more savvy. Like, who knew what workplace was maybe 5 years ago? It wasn't this jargon that everybody uses. Everybody's talking about, everybody has an opinion about hybrid now. I mean, these are things that everybody wants to talk to you about, what's going on, what's working. So one, everybody has an opinion. Two, sometimes people have really polarizing opinions. It's almost like political at this point, and there's no one size fits all, because I would say if we look at, you can have a gorgeous space, you can have the most gorgeous designed office, but if your culture sucks, or you have like really toxic managers who, if you go and use a huddle room and they go to you and say, oh, you weren't at your desk, what is that teaching people? So I think that we have, we need change management. We need etiquette and guidelines. We need to prioritize the bonding and the social connections that don't seem like they're important, but really have a strong ROI so that we can talk and connect and have innovation.